UPnP discovery. I'm going to ask it to find me the first router that exists. This is the default. You can override these. I'm going to find, that's going to give me a specific host. I'm going to set its location URL, load the XML data that describes what the device does, parse out its services. In this case, I am going to be working with the IP connection, which I showed you, but we can change service classes, and it looks like I have a little bit of time, so I'll probably do that for you. Then I just activate each service and can do basically whatever I want. So I'm just going to run the first couple of lines for you. So it's my inside host again. Recall we have 2 port forwards already in existence. So for those who know Ruby, I just use IRB. I'm working on, like I said, getting into Metasploit, probably as a tool module. When that code gets written, you'll be able to use the full Metasploit framework with it. So I'm going to paste in my code. All right, that's mostly the Ruby debugging. So now I have a service object, and I can ask it, what actions does my device provide? Or if we want to make it look a little bit prettier, oops. Right. Here are all the functions in that device class that are accessible to me right now, and only the functions that are accessible as opposed to the full spec. So I can do things like ask it for its external interface. Right. Tab completed, of course. And ask it for, let's see what other GET requests we have. It's connection type. Connection type, and unfortunately it's not in these slides, but I've been asked this before. This device only supports IP routed, which is nice, but in addition to the gets, there's a lot of sets, and you can do things like set the connection type to IP bridged mode, which on most routers is the equivalent of DMZ mode. So it's just going to bridge the WAN interface to the LAN interface, and any packet sent there is going to end up on the inside. So you could do broadcast attacks or whatever else you can get at that WAN interface will pass right through. If you're lucky, the device is inside, will just request new IP addresses and all become exposed on the internet if your cable provider allows you to get more than one IP. You can do really annoying and creative things like, I think this device supports it, forcing connection termination, which will annoy users to no end. If you send a forced termination, the device will drop its WAN interface connection immediately. You can request it instead, and then it'll give a small timeout and do it. But when the user goes to check it, it's going to reconnect automatically on most devices, so it's not going to be very easy to debug. If you have a little script running, this goes on all day. So you can get status information, you can get uptime. This device doesn't support the full spec. There's a lot of other things that you can do. If I switch service profiles, I could show you things like the generic higher level profile called IP connection allows you to check the state of the device. Some devices actually have extensions that allow you, if they have multiple NICs, to reroute which NIC is which, so you can switch the WAN interface and the LAN interface. Or if they're like dual cable modem modems, you can switch which one's the primary and the secondary. So let me break out of IRB and show you that I also am providing code, just UPnP or UPnPwn. It's a Ruby script that lets you do the simple manipulations without actually having to go through and write the actual Ruby code. So what I've been showing mostly is the list functionality. It looks like we have a little bit of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what you can do if you want to do research, and I'm actually looking for people to send me the dumps that I'm going to show you. So I can ask UPnPwn to give me the XML from any device that's out there. Oops. So let's actually look through it real quick, because I don't remember the command line parameters. So here's kind of the functionality I provide out of the box. The README sucks, read the source code, it's commented. So out of the box, I can add port mappings, I can specify a URL. I designed it so you can run it on the files offline in case you have a data capture and you want to see what a device would have been capable for. So getting the WAN IP. I added it because the last time I did this demo, I forgot the WAN IP. Get credentials will give you the username and password from a device if it supports it. One of the interesting things I found is devices that support get username and get password don't always support it if you're in Ethernet mode. They typically only support it if you actually have PPP enabled, and they might not give it to you unless you've already established a connection. I don't know if it seems to be more than one stack behaves that way, and it seems to be that sometimes the devices require a reboot before they're in that mode. But generally, the PPP interface still sticks to pretending to be an Ethernet interface and doesn't do it. But a lot of actual DSL modems will do it by default. All right, so if I ask for information about the device, and I'm going to dump the XML, I'm going to get a full parsing of everything this device supports and the XML. So this device has 3 service interfaces. I'm going to get a list of the control URLs for each one, where the description files are, the actual XML for the descriptions. And if I keep parsing through it, I get dumps of any actions that are supported by the devices. So right up in here, this device has 15 actions for the WAN IP connection profile, which, again, I showed you in the code. So moving forward a little bit, what I can do is I can show you, and this is what really scares me, how helpful other devices are that have learned that UPnP exists. So luckily, I brought a video of this because apparently American Power adapters with the wrong voltage converter equal lose. So I videoed this, and I'll do my best to narrate it because I videoed it a little while ago, and I don't remember exactly how it went. So this is this device, which luckily didn't also catch fire. It's a Ethernet-enabled webcam. Cost me about $80. You can pick them up. This is a generic one from Airlink. You can pick these up in most stores these days. A lot of them are running about $200. People love these for monitoring their babies or putting in other places. So let's run demo 4, and hopefully we can see it at this resolution. ActiveX rules. All right. So what you have here is the same thing, the outside host and the inside host, and it's going to be a demo of how helpful gadgets can be. So I wrote this little watchdog script, and I'll talk about some of the other countermeasures that I haven't talked about yet. Nobody seems to do it, and I really wish a virus vendor would do this. Actually monitor for changes to your rules. So I'm going to plug in the gadget with typo and all. And we're just going to keep watching what's going on. So you give it a couple of seconds. This is a default device. I actually found this by accident while talking to somebody else instead of coding. And I think it's this time around. Nope. One more time. Basically, there you go. The device decided to add port 80 inbound to itself. So now my Ethernet-enabled camera is accessible and Google indexable. So I'm going to log into it. Again, I haven't changed this device. So default username, default password, which I guessed. I was too lazy to read the manual. Give it a second because apparently I forgot to click OK. And remove the bubble. And there we go. I have a webcam with night vision mode, apparently, on by default, available to anyone on the internet who wants to look at it. So yeah, night vision. This camera does a lot of other stuff, so let's see what else it does. I can turn off the status indicator so you don't know that I'm using it. I can turn on the microphone. Click. I can set up a subscription so that I send your videos by email or FTP to myself in case I want to watch them on my phone when I'm in Malaysia. It's got motion detection, so I don't actually have to watch it the whole time. Unfortunately, I did this in Firefox. You can take some snapshots. You can do a lot of other random stuff. But again, This is normal. These things are just OEMs devices that have a new sticker slapped on them. So, yeah, that didn't make me too happy when I saw it, but at the end I was like, ooh, cool, new demo. And there's my monkey again. So let's get out of this demo. So, and back to the slides. So I was saying before, that little watchdog script, I'm going to make it better. I'm actually going to put eventing into the device so that I get notifications instead of just having to do polling. But this will be a really simple fix, and if there are any antivirus vendors, please do this. I'm giving this idea away for free. Query the device. It's one packet to ask the device how many rules it has. And there's a couple more to get copies of the rules. Tell the users when the rules on their devices change. So what am I doing? I talked about this before. I'm doing fingerprinting. Please, if you have devices, I need access to them. Just run a dump XML and an info and send me the code. There's an email address at the end. So help me actually figure out what's out there, which stacks. I've found about 6 stacks out there. The predominant ones are obviously the Linux IGD old and new on most devices. There's another one called UPnP embedded, which I can't figure out the vendor for, but it seems to be on a number of the VxWorks ones. VxWorks also has their own, which is on most of the actual VxWorks design devices. I'm working on a fuzzer, so like I said, I have a couple of routers that consistently crash, but I didn't have a JTAG debugger, so I didn't get to write actual buffer overflows for them. I'm going to go one step further and write a fuzzer. It turns out, and I don't have it working on the one router I tried, one of my routers will actually display the rule changes, so if you stick weird things in the comment field like script tags, you can get it to do interesting things like pop-ups. There was some weird formatting. I had to do some double encoding, so it doesn't seem to work all the time. So I'm hoping between writing a fuzzer for looking for exploits and just a fuzzer looking for other things that I can put in the fields, because I made sure that this implementation ignores the spec. You can put whatever you want in it. Please have fun. Buffer overflows, reflashes, this watchdog, which hopefully somebody else will pick up. Windows Connect Now is the next generation. I haven't looked at this yet. I have 2 devices that do it. This is supposed to be the secure version where you actually take ownership with your home PC before you can send rules. I don't know that it's going to work or not. I need to look at it. Down a little bit lower, I talk about there's a heating system apparently UPnP enabled, or that's what Honeywell said in 2002. I can't find one. If you have it, find me. That profile uses similar security but has a unauthenticated reset feature, so you can just reset the device and take ownership again based on the spec, but I can't see one in practice. And I'm obviously going to start looking at Rendezvous and a couple other things. So I'll take a couple of questions now, and then I also have, I could talk through the UPnP device that does bootloading if there's any time left. So any questions? Yes?
Hi, I got 3 questions. Question 1, how do I know my device has UPnP? Actually, I have a couple of 3-COM devices at home, and I don't see any UPnP tabs or radio buttons and such.
Okay, so simple way is run this code and it'll tell you. If you just run it in info mode, it'll do the discovery. What you'll find is, and I don't know the specific device you have, either they have a UPnP tab or they don't. I have devices that have no way to turn UPnP off, which really scares me, but it's on. So the simple answer is, as a normal consumer, you don't have a way. If you enable the Windows UPnP tools, at least in Vista, it kind of goes out and it tries to do a discovery and will tell you a device is there. That's another way as a consumer, but then you've turned on UPnP on Vista and you have to deal with any attack against it on Vista. So there is no simple way as a consumer, and that's kind of the problem. So question 2?
Question 2, is there a way for me to turn off my client search for UPnP, say if I'm using a Mac or Linux?
So I don't think Linux does it by default. I'd have to think